Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Thank you for coming to this discussion about Scott today. I just wanted to go through this PowerPoint that I made just for you guys to have a look at, and you can read through. I'll give you a copy of it as well that's in front of you just there. So I've done this for all of my students this semester, and I think it's really helped, especially when it comes to meeting with you guys too. So this is for Scott's transition individual education plan. So what we're actually planning on doing is trying to get it linked together between where he's at now and where he's going to be in the future, so what he's going to be doing for a job. Now, I've spoken to Scott. Of course, this is information that you probably already know, but I've put it in here anyway. You know, Scott's 17, he's in 11th grade, he's going to be coming through the juniors into the seniors next year. So we have had a little bit of discussion about what he wants to do. He's told me that he wants to move into the military after school, so I've kind of designed this, what he's doing right now in my US history class, how he's doing and everything else around that, so that we can work out how things will work with him when it comes to actually what he's doing in class and how it can relate to the future. So as we can see on here, you guys are well aware of this too. Scott has the two learning disabilities, so he has dysgraphia and he has ADHD, which of course can make him sometimes, when he's in a group scenario, it makes him a little uncomfortable. Sometimes he is a little bit irrational, or sometimes he comes across as a little rude when actually he just wants to kind of put his opinion out there. And I'm just trying to work with him on that as much as I can. We're trying to do as much as we can in the class with him, so that he's with people that he knows, that they know him and they know that they can trust him, that he's respected. He's doing really, really well in class. He's on a high B right now. He's working towards that A. That's where we want him to be. We want him to be as high as possible on the grade standard, of course, but right now he's on a B. So I'm trying to do everything I can with those learning disabilities to help him. I think the one that affects him more than the ADHD is dysgraphia, because when it comes to in class, if I have them do some sort of presentation and it's handwritten, or I have to have something written on the board, or I have to have a handwritten assignment, Scott really struggles with that because of his handwriting. He's very self-conscious about it. So I'll go through this and I'll explain exactly what we're trying to do in the class to help him with that, because obviously that's something that he struggles with. So as I said, he's really great at taking in knowledge. His other classes, he's kind of mid-Bs. In ours, he's in a high B, and I really want him to push towards that A, because he's only a couple of points off it, and I know that he's capable. Scott retains the knowledge excellently. It's just how he puts it across. And like I said, he is very self-conscious about the way that he writes and things. So I try as much as I can to make sure he doesn't have to do writing. Something where he can maybe talk. If it's a presentation, he can have his own script. He can type that up, so it's something that he can read, so he can speak it, so it's more visual for someone else. It's more audio, so that they can hear him instead of having to read what he's put. I'm just trying to do everything I can to make sure that he's doing well. So I know that he likes to stay indoors. I know he's not impartial to going outside. I know that he likes soccer, that he likes basketball, he goes out and plays with his friends, but I'm very conscious of the fact he likes to do stuff that's indoors as well. With the US history class that I teach, that's not exactly too difficult, apart from maybe a few field trips we might have. He doesn't really have to do much outside, which is great. But I love the way that he takes on information, and I can see that he has the knowledge. It's just that he needs to ensure that he's getting everything done on time, and ensure that everything is as well as it can be for him. So my class, like I said, it's 11th grade US history. We start around 1800. We go all the way through. Right now we're right around the 1960s Vietnam kind of time. He's doing fantastically. We cover all that information and try and link it to what they're living right now, so they can see the decisions from the past, how they have affected their current and potential future situations, so that it relates to them, because I know a lot of kids these days don't really relate to social studies. So it's something that we're trying to do as much as we can. They're required to do all the assignments. Scott doesn't have a problem with that. There's only one class that he's missed, which I'll show you how that's actually affected his grades. But he's doing great. It was just an illness. It's not like it was unexcused. So he's doing great. He just needs to keep on coming in and just keep on working on those assignments as well as he can. So As you can see, like I said to you, I want him to receive that A grade because I know he's perfectly capable. We just need to work around some of his learning disabilities a little better if we can. I think that I can do something with that as much as Scott can do something with that. So when it comes to participating, he's great when it's like something where it's people that he knows. When it's not people that he knows, like I said to you before, he can become a little frustrated with other people. So it's just something that he can work on because he does fantastically when it's individual work. But when it comes down to group work, it can be a little more difficult for him. So as long as he gets his work completed and turned in on time, which I have the one time that he didn't do that, I've kind of glossed over, but I have mentioned it to him. He needs to make sure he gets his stuff done on time. So we need to make sure that he's aware of when things are due. And you guys can help with that as well. You can contact me anytime you need to. And he needs to just learn to be able to have a more open mind when it comes to other people in the classroom, because Scott is quite opinionated, and most of the time his opinion is based on fact and on truth, and some other people have a different opinion where they have branched off from what we've learned in class and thought about it from a different context, and Scott isn't very keen on taking that on board sometimes. So I think we just need to work with him a little bit on that, but other than that, he's great. For the future, he's told me that he wants to go into the military, which is fantastic. We've kind of linked in the future goals with the class goals that we have here. So I would really like him to respect others more, for the simple fact that if he's going into the military, he's not going to become a sergeant straight away. He's going to start at the basic entry-level position, and that means that he's going to have to respect others. He's going to have to respect the chain of command. If he doesn't do that, then he's in trouble. So I'm trying to tell him that as we work through the class with other people. Turning work in on time is obviously very important. Making sure you're doing what people are telling you in the military and making sure you're doing it on time is key. So that's another thing that we can link in. And if he can learn to work with different diverse groups, the military is very diverse. There's male, female, all different races, religions and creeds that are there. So he needs to make sure that he can build those kind of talking skills, those skills that he's going to need to knit that team together around him, so they'll always be there for him and he'll always be there for them. In the classwork, like I said, you can see through the chapters and the unit test, this is like the highest one he's had right here. Chapter 2 was a 92 out of 100. The lowest he's had was the 85 down here for chapter 4, but it's because he missed a class. So that participation grade has dropped him down just a little bit. He's on an average of 88, which is a high B. I think he can do a little bit with full participation and just making sure he's here. We'll probably bump him just over that A line. That's exactly what we want. So as you can see from the progress, his tests, it's just a straight line because there's only one test that we've had so far this semester. With the assignments, he's been pretty steady. You can see it's almost a straight line as well. He's been right in that high B, low A range. But the progress, like I said, because he's out for that one class, it brings his participation grade down, and that brings him down. So as long as he's here for the rest of the semester, as long as he can make up that work, which I'll offer him the opportunity to do, then he'll be on that A grade, which is fantastic for him. For the assignments and quizzes that he has, he's a really good quiz taker because it's not something that's written. It's something that he can do multiple choice, or it's something that he can type in an answer when it's on the computer, which is great for him because it doesn't really affect him in the learning disability kind of way, which is fantastic. So he's great at that, and like I say, he retains knowledge brilliantly, so there's no problem with it there. It's just when it comes down to like written assignments, things like that, that it becomes then a bit of a problem because he struggles with that. He feels self-conscious, he's not sure on how certain things are spelled, and that can be an issue for him. So as much as I can, I'm trying to get him to be able to work on the PC so that he can have something like a spell check, so that he can have something where it's typed instead of written, where it's easier for him and he can just get his knowledge across, which is really what we're interested in. We want to make sure that he has as much opportunity and availability to do as well as everyone else. Just because he has that learning disability doesn't make any difference to him. He should be good to go if we can just use these things that we have implemented. With the tests, it's important for him not to try and stress. He gets a little anxious about it, and he really doesn't need to because he's so smart and he retains the knowledge so well. It's there. I don't know if we can maybe even at home put in some plans where he just has like a de-stress or some sort of plan where maybe when he's in school, he can kind of work on that, because it would definitely help him, because if he takes the test with a little less stress, he'll be hitting like mid-A, I would think. The knowledge is there, it's just making sure he's calm and he's collected and he knows that the knowledge is there. I'd like to just point out to you as well at this point that the reason that you're here today, the reason that I've spoken to Scott on previous occasions one-on-one, is because we all want to work together to do what's best for Scott. And if there's anything that you need from me, like another meeting like this in the future, like just to contact me, there's my email, there's my phone, it's all on the copy that you guys have, so you guys can contact me, you can make an appointment, it's by appointment, so normally it's just after school, but if you guys contact me first, it's much easier to do that appointment with you guys. So the other thing I wanted to bring it round to at the end here was the universal design for learning. Now you might not have heard of it before, you might have, but universal design for learning is essentially ways that we as teachers can bring it round so that Scott doesn't have to worry about learning disabilities. He doesn't have to worry about not having as much opportunity as someone else who's different to him in any way, that we try and make it as even as possible for everyone so that everyone has the best chance to learn as much as possible. So that's what we're trying to do in the school. That's what I certainly try and do in my classroom. And hopefully Scott is seeing the things that I'm implementing in the class that are helping him to become a better student and to be able to get as high a grade as possible. So there are a couple strategies that I'm using with him right now. If he's struggling, like when he gets a little stressed about an assignment or about a test, I do have some wall space in the class. You can probably see it over the far side over there where it has some rules, some kind of basic procedures and structures of how things are, some due dates. So if he's at all worried about anything, he can go and check that, and that will kind of de-stress him a little bit. It will kind of make him more aware of things. So then we have assistive technology. Now, assistive technology can help people who have physical disabilities or issues like Scott has with his dysgraphia, anything like that. So in order to do things at his own pace, we've kind of given him the opportunity where if he needs things like the laptop, then he can have that, then he can work at his own pace while still being focused on what's going on in the class, because he can see all of the PowerPoints and things on the screen as much as he can see it up there. If he's more focused on a laptop, that's fantastic. I'm happy for him to use that. So that's something else that we're using. And then the final thing that I'm using with him right now is sometimes he just won't be able to focus if there's too much kind of like conversation going on in the class, if there's like group work or something like that, and he needs that moment where he just wants to be by himself and focus. I'll let him put his headphones on. That's not a problem for me. I'm perfectly fine with that as long as he's on task, which he always is in class, so I don't have a problem with that. He's more than welcome to use the actual headphones to focus, to whether it's just to have it quieter, or whether it's to have some music on, or whether it's to have a video that he's listening to. I don't mind that, that's fine. So that's all that I have for you today. If there's anything else that you needed me to answer for you, I'd be happy to. If not, thank you so much for coming in, and I will see you next semester. Thank you.